I'm going to pick up here with Book 5, titled Odysseus, Nymph, and Shipwreck. As dawn rose up from bed by her lordly mate Tithonus, bringing light to immortal gods and mortal men, the gods sat down in council, circling Zeus, the Thunder King, whose power rules the world. Athena began, recalling Odysseus to their thoughts. The goddess, deeply moved by the man's long ordeal, held captive still in the nymph Calypso's house. Father Zeus, you other happy gods who never die, never let any sceptered king be kind and gentle now, not with all his heart, or set his mind on justice. No, let him be cruel and always practice outrage. Think, not one of the people whom he ruled remembers Odysseus now, that godlike man, and kindly as a father to his children. Now he's left to pine on an island, racked with grief, in the nymph Calypso's house. She holds him there by force. He has no way to voyage home to his own native land, no trim ships in reach, no crew to ply the oars and send him scuttling over the sea's broad back. And now his dear son, they plot to kill the boy on his way back home. Yes, he has sailed off for news of his father, to holy Pylos first, then out to the sunny hills of Lacedaemon. My child, Zeus, who marshals the thunderheads, replied, what nonsense you let slip through your teeth. Come now, wasn't the plan your own? You conceived it yourself. Odysseus shall return and pay the traitors back. Telemachus, sail him home with all your skill. The power is yours, no doubt, home to his native country all unharmed, while the suitors limp to port, defeated, baffled men. I'm just going to pause for a second here to say that Telemachus, who is Odysseus' son, in the chapters between chapter 1 and chapter 5 has just been going out to different islands around Ithaca, attempting to look for his dad. And that is a journey that Athena inspired in book 1. So that's really all we've missed, but we're more focused on Odysseus. So pick up here where Zeus says, with those words, Zeus turned to his son Hermes. You are our messenger, Hermes, sent on all our missions. Announce to the nymph with lovely braids our fixed decree. Odysseus journeys home. The exile must return. But not in the convoy of the gods or mortal men. No, on a lashed makeshift raft wrung with pains. On the 20th day he shall make his landfall, fertile Scheria, land of the Phaeacians, close kin to the gods themselves, who with all their hearts will prize him like a god and send him off in a ship to his own beloved land, giving him bronze and hoards of gold and robes, more plunder than he could ever have won from Troy if Odysseus had returned intact with his fair share. So his destiny ordains. He shall see his loved ones reach his high-roofed house, his native land at last. So Zeus decreed, and the giant killing guide obeyed at once. Quickly under his feet he fastened the supple sandals, ever glowing gold, that wing him over the waves and boundless earth with the rush of gusting winds. He seized the wand that enchants the eyes of men whenever Hermes wants, or wakes us up from sleep. That wand in his grip, the powerful giant killer, swooping down from Pieria, down the high, clear air, plunged to the sea and skimmed the waves like a tern. That's a type of bird, that down the deadly gulfs of the barren salt swells, glides and dives for fish, dipping in its beating wings in bursts of spray. So Hermes skimmed the crests on endless crests. But once he gained that island's world apart from the deep blue sea, he climbed to dry land and strode on till he reached the spacious cave where the nymph with lovely braids had made her home, and he found her there inside. A great fire blazed on the hearth, and the smell of cedar, cleanly split, and sweet wood burning bright, wafted a cloud of fragrance down the island. Deep inside she sang, the goddess Calypso, lifting her breathtaking voice as she glided back and forth before her loom, her golden shuttle weaving. Thick, luxuriant woods grew round the cave, alders and black poplars, pungent cypress too, and there birds roosted, folding their long wings, owls and hawks, and the spread-beaked ravens of the sea. Black skimmers who make their living off the waves. And round the mouth of the cavern trailed a vine laden with clusters, bursting with ripe grapes. 4 springs in a row, bubbling clear and cold, running side by side, took channels left and right. Soft meadows spreading round were starred with violets, lush with beds of parsley. Why, even a deathless god who came upon that place would gaze in wonder, heart entranced with pleasure. Hermes, the guide, the mighty giant killer, stood there, spellbound. But once he'd had his fill of marveling at it all, he briskly entered the deep vaulted cavern. Calypso, lustrous goddess, knew him at once, and as soon as she saw his features face to face, immortals are never strangers to each other, no matter how distant one may make her home. But as for great Odysseus, Hermes could not find him within the cave. Off he sat on a headland, weeping there as always, wrenching his heart with sobs and groans and anguish, gazing out over the barren sea through blinding tears. But Calypso, lustrous goddess, questioned Hermes, seating him on a glistening, polished chair. God of the golden wand, why have you come? A beloved, honored friend, but it's been so long, your visit's much too rare. Tell me what's on your mind. I'm eager to do it, whatever I can do, whatever can be done. And the goddess drew a table up beside him, heaped with ambrosia, mixed him deep red nectar. Hermes, the guide and giant killer, ate and drank. Once he had dined and fortified himself with food, he launched right in, replying to her questions. As one god to another, you ask me why I've come. I'll tell you the whole story, mince no words. Your wish is my command. It was Zeus who made me come, no choice of mine. Who would willingly roam across a salty waste so vast, so endless? Think, no city of men in sight, not a soul to offer the gods a sacrifice and burn the fattest victims. But there is no way, you know, for another god to thwart the will of storming Zeus and make it come to nothing. Zeus claims you keep beside you a most unlucky man, most harried of all who fought for Priam's Troy, 9 years, sacking the city in the 10th, and then set sail for home. But voyaging back, they outraged Queen Athena, who loosed the gales and pounding seas against them. There, all the rest of his loyal shipmates died. But the wind drove him on, the current bore him here. Now Zeus commands you to send him off with all good speed. It is not his fate to die here, far from his own people. Destiny still ordains that he shall see his loved ones, reach his high-roofed house, his native land at last. But lustrous Calypso shuddered at those words and burst into a flight of indignation. Hard-hearted you are, you gods, you unrivaled lords of jealousy. So these 3 dots indicate that I'm skipping a bit in time, but not long. So it picks up. So now at last, you gods, you train your spite on me. This is still Calypso speaking. For keeping a mortal man beside me, the man I saved, riding astride his keelboard all alone, when Zeus, with one hurl of a white-hot bolt, had crushed his racing warship down the wine-dark sea. There all the rest of his loyal shipmates died, but the wind drove him on, the current bore him here, and I welcomed him warmly, cherished him, even vowed to make the man immortal, ageless, all his days. But since there is no way for another god to thwart the will of storming Zeus and make it come to nothing, let the man go, if the Almighty insists, commands, and destroy himself on the barren salt sea. I'll send him off, but not with any escort. I'll have no ships in reach, no crew to ply the oars, and send him scuttling over the sea's broad back. But I will gladly advise him. I'll hide nothing, so he can reach his native country all unharmed. And the guide and giant killer reinforced her words. Release him at once, just so. Steer clear of the rage of Zeus, or down the years he'll fume and make your life a hell. With that, the powerful giant killer sped away. The queenly nymph sought out the great Odysseus, the commands of Zeus still ringing in her ears, and found him there on the headland sitting, still, weeping, his eyes never dry, his sweet life flowing away with the tears he wept for his foiled journey home, since the nymph no longer pleased. In the nights, true, he'd sleep with her in the arching cave. He had no choice. Unwilling lover alongside lover, all too willing. But all his days he'd sit on the rocks and beaches, wrenching his heart with sobs and groans and anguish, gazing out over the barren sea through blinding tears. So coming up to him now, the lustrous goddess ventured. No need, my unlucky one, to grieve here any longer. No, don't waste your life away. Now I am willing, heart and soul, to send you off at last. Come, take bronze tools, cut your lengthy timbers, make them into a broad-beamed raft, and top it off with half deck high enough to sweep you free and clear on the misty seas. And I myself will stock her with food and water, ruddy wine to your taste, all to stave off hunger, give you clothing, send you a stiff following wind so that you can reach your native country all unharmed. If only the gods are willing. They rule the vaulting skies. They're stronger than I to plan and drive things home. Long enduring Odysseus shuddered at that and broke out in a sharp fight of protest. Passage home? Never. Surely you're plotting something else, goddess, urging me in a raft across the ocean's mighty gulfs. So vast, so full of danger, not even deep sea ships can make it through. Swift as they are and buoyed up by the winds of Zeus himself. I won't set foot on a raft until you show good faith, until you consent or to swear, goddess, a blinding oath you'll never plot some new intrigue to harm me. He was so intense the lustrous goddess smiled, stroked him with her hand, savored his name, and chided. Ah, what a wicked man you are! And never at a loss. What a thing to imagine, what a thing to say! Earth be my witness now, the vaulting sky above, and the dark, cascading waters of the Styx. I swear by the greatest, grimmest oath that binds me to the happy gods, I will never plot some new intrigue to harm you. Never. All I have in mind and devise for you are the very plans I'd fashion for myself if I were in your straits. My every impulse bends to what is right, not iron, trust me, the heart within my breast. I am all compassion. And lustrous Calypso quickly led the way as he followed in the footsteps of the goddess. They reached the arching cavern, man and god as one. And Odysseus took the seat that Hermes just left, while the nymph set out before him every kind of food and drink that mortal men will take. Calypso sat down face to face with the king, and the women served her nectar and ambrosia. They reached out for the good things that lay at hand, and when they'd had their fill of food and drink, the lustrous one took up a new approach. So then, royal son of Laertes, Odysseus, man of exploits, still eager to leave at once and hurry back to your own home, your beloved native land? Good luck to you, even so. Farewell. But if you only knew deep down what pains are fated to fill your cup before you reach that shore, you'd stay right here, preside in our house with me, and be immortal. Much as you long to see your wife, the one you pine for all your days, and yet I'm just might claim to be nothing less than she, neither in face nor figure. Hardly right is it for mortal women to rival immortal goddess. How in build, in beauty? Ah, great goddess, worldly Odysseus answered. I don't be angry with me, please. All that you say is true. How well I know. Look at my wise Penelope. She falls far short of you, your beauty, stature. She is mortal after all, and you never age or die. Nevertheless, I long, I pine all my days to travel home and see the dawn of my return. And if a god will wreck me yet again on the wine dark sea, I can bear that too, with a spirit tempered to endure. Much have I suffered, labored long and hard by now in the waves and wars. And add this to the total, bring the trial on. So I'm going to stop reading there and I'll pick up in a last video with what happens after Odysseus leaves Calypso's shores. But I just want to point out that the last thing she is doing is both offering him immortality and saying, you know, you could stay here with me and be immortal forever, and surely I am more beautiful than your wife Penelope. And Odysseus is wise, like it says, and admits that um, Penelope falls short of Calypso in beauty because, after all, Calypso is an immortal goddess.